Outrage. Outrage is extremely difficult to quantify. Sometimes it's extremely difficult to notice. But outrage has been the verdict on the verdict. $300 million have flowed into DonaldTrump.com or WinRed.com since the verdicts came down on Thursday. Everywhere there is outrage. And the ordinary people who are sending in an average contribution of $70 each, at least a quarter of them are brand new to the Trump campaign. 30% of them, according to Eric Trump, have never given to any campaign before. Why is there so much outrage? Why are people so angry? Almost 50 years ago in 1975, Paul Simon released the song 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. So I spent yesterday making a list of the 50 sources of outrage that are driving people to politics and will drive them to vote. It goes back to 2015 and comes forward from there. But it's been 9 years of the Get Trump movement, and people have had it. The straw, the last straw, were the verdicts, but a lot came before that. Here are my 50 reasons. 1. Hillary's private server, the rules it violated and the threat to national security it posed, and no prosecution for it. Outrage. 2. Hillary's lawyer's deletion of half of her emails, and no prosecution for that. Outrageous. 3. Hillary's use of bleach bit and hammers, and again, no prosecution. Outrage. 4. Former FBI Director James Comey, there's nothing to see here. Conclusion on the Clinton emails on Representative Anthony Weiner's laptop. Outrage. 5. The Steele dossier. Outrageous. 6. Mark Elias and his then law firm Perkins Coie and their roles in the 2016 campaign, which included retaining Fusion GPS, a Washington firm, to conduct the research, create the Steele dossier. Outrageous. No penalty. 7. The leak of said Steele dossier to Mother Jones and other media outlets. Outrageous. 8. The meeting, actually. The ambush of President-elect Trump by then CIA Director Brennan, then FBI Director Comey, then DNI Clapper at Trump Tower in January 2017, at the conclusion of which Comey asked everyone else to leave, and he briefed the president-elect on the most salacious parts of the dossier. The news that Comey had done so almost immediately leaked. Outrage, outrage, outrage. 9. The recusal by Attorney General Jeff Sessions from any matter involving the Trump 2016 campaign. Outrageous. 10. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein naming Robert Mueller III to serve as special counsel to oversee the investigation of the Russian government efforts to influence the 2016 presidential action and related matters. Outrageous. 11. The team of hyper-partisan prosecutors assembled by Mueller. Outrage. 12. The revelations that Peter Strzok, Lisa Page messages revealed about corruption atop the FBI. Outrageous. 13. The 22 months that Mueller took. Mueller and his attack pack took forever to find nothing. 14. The 2 thick volumes of the so-called Mueller report, intended only to cover the dry holes, the failure of Team Mueller, all the dry holes that they had drilled, the fact that they had produced nothing. Outrageous. 15. The refusal by Team Mueller to send to then Attorney General William Barr a version of the report that the Attorney General requested, a version redacted of classified information so that Barr could immediately publish it, which the Mueller team did not do. Outrageous. 16. The smear of Barr, that he was hiding the report, and then the smear of Barr that his conclusion that there was no obstruction was somehow flawed. Outrageous. 17. The leak of the Trump phone call with Ukraine President Zelensky. Outrageous. Violation of law. 18. The manufacture of impeachment 1 based on that call. Outrageous. 19. The lies of Adam Schiff throughout the Mueller investigation and then throughout the impeachment. Outrageous. 20. The changes in voting rules in 2020 because of COVID. Outrageous, often slippery. 21. The Zuckerbucks and the Zuckerboxes. Outrageous. 22. The Commission on Presidential Debates, 2020. Its selection of moderators and its unilateral decision to cancel one of the debates. Outrageous. 23. The Hunter Biden laptop and the censoring of most stories about it when the New York Post got the scoop. Outrageous. Outrageous. 24. The letter from 51 former senior intelligence officials concluding that the emails on Biden's laptop, quote, has all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. Outrageous. 25. The lawlessness of the summer of 2020, following the murder of George Floyd and the refusal to call out the protesters who were violating the COVID guidelines, even as churches, beaches, and playgrounds were closed. Outrageous. 26. The second impeachment after the 1/6 riot at the Capitol, an effort undertaken even as the transition to president in 2 weeks would obviously prevent a timely proceeding with even minimal attention to the process due any official being impeached, much less an outgoing president. Outrageous. 27. The setup by the FBI of the meeting with Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, then National Security Advisor, his subsequent prosecution. Outrageous. 28. The conduct not just of Comey, Page, and Strzok, but also the Bureau's Andrew McCabe and James Baker. Outrageous. 29. The manipulation of the membership of the House Select Committee on 1/6 by then Speaker Pelosi, who vetoed future Indiana Senator Jim Banks, going to be a senator. Pelosi vetoed him from becoming the ranking minority member and proceeded to name 2 anti-Trump Republicans to the show trial so-called committee. The entire charade reflected this original breach of trust with no Trump defenders on it, rigging the proceedings as much as the court proceedings in New York were rigged to run as they did and reach the conclusion that was reached. 30. The raid of the FBI on Mar-a-Lago. Outrageous. 31. The appointment of Jack Smith as special counsel, despite the fact the Supreme Court had tossed his prosecution and conviction of former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell. Outrageous. 32. The appointment of a different special counsel, Robert Hur, to President Biden's classified documents case, and the obviously different standard of prosecution applied to Biden and was applied to Trump. Outrageous. 33. The conduct of, in the civil case against Trump brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James. Outrageous. 34. The conduct of New York Judge Arthur Engoron during the civil proceeding and his outrageous setting of the bond. 35. The E. Jean Carroll proceedings and verdicts. Outrageous. 36. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg campaigning for office on the promise of prosecuting Trump. Outrageous. 37. Bragg filing an indictment against Trump, resurrecting time-barred misdemeanors without specifying in the indictment the second crime that turned those time-barred misdemeanors into felonies ripe for prosecution. 38. Trial court Judge Juan Merchan's symbolic contributions to the 2020 Joe Biden campaign in 2 hard-left causes, in contravention of black-letter New York law governing judicial conduct, and Merchan's refusal to recuse himself from the Trump trial. Outrageous. 39. Merchan's anti-Trump rulings on many, many issues, ranging from admitting plea bargains with Michael Cohen and David Pecker that the defense objected to refusing to allow former Federal Elections Commissioner and Chairman Professor Bradley Smith to testify to the extent of his knowledge. Outrageous. 40. The blistering of by Merchan of defense witness Robert Costello and the judge's interference with Costello's testimony. 41. That was outrageous, but 41 is worse. The failure of the judge to clearly instruct on the state of mind the second crime, so-called, would require. 42. The jury not declaring what the second crime was on the verdict paper. Outrageous. 43. The conduct of Judge Tanya Chutkan in an attempt to rush a trial in Federal District Court of Trump in D.C. Outrageous. 44. The gag order on Trump issued by Judge Engoron in the case brought by James. Outrageous. 45. The gag order on Trump issued by trial Judge Chutkan in the case brought by Smith in D.C. Outrageous. 46. The gag order on Trump issued by Merchan in the Manhattan case. Outrageous. 47. The schedule of 4 days a week of trial in the spring of the election year The scheduling required Trump, the nominee for the Republicans, to be in a Manhattan courtroom for 6 weeks, thus interfering with the presidential campaign. Outrageous. 48. The conduct of both Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis and her lover and co-counsel Nathan Wade. Outrageous. 49. The refusal of all these prosecutors and judges to wait on the Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity from criminal proceedings based on acts taken while president. Outrageous. 50. Arizona's Democratic State Attorney General Chris Mays and her grand jury's indictment of 18 people in yet another election interference case filed in late April. Outrageous. There is much, much more that I haven't even listed. I didn't list the Colorado tossing of Donald Trump from their ballot, reversed by the Supreme Court. I did not list Maine Secretary of State's dismissal of Donald Trump from the Pine Tree State's ballot, another abuse of power, because that too has gone away. I've just given you 50 specific abuses of power. They are all part of a mosaic of the abuse of law and process that has settled into the mind of the American electorate and triggered outrage that is real and widespread across the country. And people are giving and giving and giving because it's the only way they know to express dismay and disgust. Outrage with Mershon, outrage with Bragg, outrage with Chutkan, outrage with Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, outrage with James Comey, outrage with Hillary Clinton, outrage that has been building for 7 years. Not violent, not disorderly, not lawless, as the protesters following the murder of George Floyd, just outrageous. Outrageous to the point that they've had it. And they're contributing to Donald Trump. And they're not going to stop contributing to Donald Trump at winred.com or donaldtrump.com because they are ticked off. And they are right to be so.